Or no, the stream, the recording.
I just happened to be in game when you called.
Oh, make sure to get a purple on that guy, right? That way you can't just get out for free and get healed.
True.
Alright, even if you think that the kill's gonna be secure, it's still a good idea to just get in there. Unless he's like 1 HP. In between fights, you should probably be rotating like up to like the back high ground behind, like right above us right now.
Yeah.
That's just gonna give us some good line of sight on our team, but also putting us out of the line of sight of the enemy team, while also opening up for some good nade opportunities. So if we talked about the 3 check boxes last time, that would kind of be a spot like that fits that. All right. Remember to heal yourself up. Kind of prioritize healing yourself up over just hitting the single anti-nade. So if you see that you're like half or low, you just go with the healing on ourselves. But besides that, not much else. Watch the spam jumping, right? Just that's have to try to get rid of. Okay, in between fights, make sure we're rotating back up to the high ground. Also, right now it's looking like we're whiffing a lot of abilities, so make sure we're putting some effort and concentration hitting those. Alright, using the nano a little bit late in the fight, make sure you're using it earlier. Ults that are used first get more value.
Sig one.
Huge.
I don't have hook. I don't know sleep.
Only on Widow.
Very nice. Huge nade.
Ball one behind, ball one behind. I'm dead. On point. Oh, of course.
Ball's going after our Doom. No hook.
Their breaks half. Huge.
Watch your health. Request healing when you're low. Also, again, make sure you're prioritizing like the self nade over anti when you're like when you're half HP or lower, right?
Gotcha.
Okay.
That was a lot harder
So,
than
yeah, I guess before I go into like a quick strengths to weaknesses, because I think honestly it was, at least in that game there, it looked, it was pretty apparent to me what those were. How have things been going since last time? I know it's been like a while, like 2 weeks maybe.
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks.
Yeah, two
Honestly, I
weeks.
haven't been playing that much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty easily tilted. I'm not even gonna lie.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but understandable. You gotta get back into the game. Usually, that's how it works for me too with comp. Um, so yeah, I guess, do you have any, before we got started? Do you have any questions for me?
I mean, not this second. Although I'm having a, I definitely know I'm having a hard time ult tracking, and I don't know
Um.
the right way to
All right. Well,
get
that
better at that is.
definitely, practice is going to be a big part of that. If you're not playing much and practicing at it much, then it's not just going to come automatically, right? So, got to keep at it. And then besides that, just constant reminders and making to yourself, right? Making sure that we talk about kind of how you should be looking to focus on stuff and not autopiloting, and that comes from like constant reminders to yourself. And while you're playing, you're kind of going ults. That way, you're constantly giving yourself a reminder to even think about it in the first place. And then we kind of went through the process of how to do that, like last time, I think, right?
Yeah.
So that's just how you'd go about doing that. But yeah, so far, within that first couple, just few minutes, what I was taking a look at was, looked like mechanics perfectly fine, doing fantastic, no issue, just hitting shots. Positioning, I think, was actually really good. There was just a couple times where like we just want to make sure we're rotating in between fights, but besides that, we had really good positioning most of the time. And then on first point, I think we could have been like top right high ground, well, when we were kind of in the second fight, but that was about it. Um, and then on the awareness end, I think we need to see more before we go into awareness. But I think some more we were struggling was our ability usage, especially because we missed a lot of our sleeps and our nades. We missed a couple of those, but then also like we had some missed timings where like we would toss nade out when aggressively when we were low health. And like I said, we also just missed it a couple times. So we just want to make sure we're getting better with our abilities and we're using those correctly and getting value out of them, because they're really important parts of our kit. And then ult usage, and we probably talked about it last time, but make sure or like tell me if we didn't talk about it, but we talked about using them at the beginning of fights. Yes, no.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, so you just want to make sure we're using it early, not holding, not using it late, because we did every time we used an ult there, it was kind of like mid to late fight, and then by that point, like, uh, it's not going to get as much value as it could, and on top of that, you might already be like losing the fight at that point or winning the fight at that point, so it's going to not really be as necessary. So, and it's not going to get as much value. So we just want to make sure we're using that earlier. So that's kind of where we're standing currently off just that first couple of minutes. Yeah, and then we can just, I didn't have anything to demonstrate. We can just wait till we get into that next game. Is there anything in particular you feel like you're struggling with when it comes to ult tracking?
I guess the timing of how quickly people get ults.
Mm,
Like I don't know how much impact each person is already doing in said round. You know what I mean?
yeah. A lot of the time, especially like in Masters, you can assume ults. There's some ults charge faster than others, but a lot of the times people are gonna have them after 1 or 2 fights. So like if it's been 2 fights, some they have their ult no matter like pretty much no matter what. Unless they're like AFK, which
Mhm.
isn't gonna like in Masters. 2 fights is kind of like a minimum. So if they haven't had their ult, if they didn't use their ult this fight and they didn't use it like in the next fight, then they definitely have it.
Unlucky GM diamonds.
A lot of the time they're gonna have it after 1 fight.
Oh, you really gonna
Many
say that?
characters will get it after
Okay,
1 fight,
okay.
but it'll also depend on like did you see them doing a lot, who like it basically like you can through the process of elimination you really makes it a lot easier because if you can eliminate like 3 people because they just use their ults, then you only have to keep track of 3 people, right? If you
Right.
like if you're looking at our comp real quick, right, and we like do a quick ult track off that, like if we eliminate Echo, Ana, and or we get McCree, Ana, and Brig, then we just only have to think about Reinhardt, Zarya, and Hanzo, right? And we can go, okay, well, Reinhardt just killed 5 people. He has his ult. Zarya hasn't grabbed in 2 fights. And then maybe I'm not so certain on the dragon, right?
Gotcha.
A lot of times you can just wait till after ball slams when he's like on the ground, right? That way you know to just look down, you know you'll be up in the air and ball will be on the floor. So it's just an easy animation to track if you know where he's
Makes
going.
sense.
Nice nade. Really concentrate on those sleeps. I don't know if I've seen us land one yet, so you just want to make sure we're focusing on those. Oh, don't look to intentionally duel characters where you have a disadvantage in the duel. All right, we can look to duel if we're forced into it, or if like we have our team backing us up. But if we're just kind of running at the Tracer, when Tracer's a better dueler character than we are, right? Then we probably don't want to be doing that.
Gotcha.
Dude, how the fuck you
take
put
that.
that?
They used Valk, Mines, Shatter,
Thanks.
and two.
Yo, grab.
Yep, did it.
Never mind, we don't boss anymore.
And that's 4 ults? Yeah, 4 ults. And that's a
Because
big.
down, that's
Okay,
not
just walk point,
no,
walk
Ryan,
point, walk
no,
point.
Ryan, please.
Grab it, just go for this grab. He has shadow, right?
No, he used it.
Wait, can you not a tracer?
We talked about spam jumping last time.
I don't mind. Clear one.
Watch your teammates, make sure they're not stepping in front of you, right? That comes in at awareness and make sure paying attention to where they are at.
Zen's on your Tracer.
Oh!
Can you say that one more time?
Yep.
Sorry.
Make sure we're paying attention to where our team's at. There we had used a nade and hit the Zarya, so that's an awareness thing, right? And kind of a little bit of ability usage, making sure we're paying attention to where our teammates at, so they're not kind of walking in front of them, and then we can, if they walk in front of us, we can walk to the side of them.
Tracer. Mine's low.
Yeah, nice nano. Huge nade. Alright, really good ability usage and ult usage there. That's the type of thing you want to keep up. Unfortunate.
Hey. Whatever.
So, did we talk about spam jumping at all last time?
I mean, last session, no.
No?
Last round,
Alright.
yes.
Last round, yeah. So just as a quick refresher, right? Spam jumping's just not a good habit to have. It's not gonna, impact your rank by a whole lot, but it's just gonna make it easier for people to shoot at you and headshot you. So we don't want to be doing it too much.
Ball. Dude, what is this new noise on fucking Discord? It's actually so annoying.
It's just any damage boosting. Oh, no, Curse behind, yo.
Purple.
Three.
DPS, there's one. Oh,
Mercy.
Mercy one, Mercy one, Mercy one. That's up. I hate that fucking character. This one. Tracer's dead.
Freeze damage, we still left side with Mercy.
Yep, I tagged him.
Okay.
Mercy hot. I'm scout, I got pressure. Come on. Oh, okay, dude.
Good job getting to sleep on the ball there.
You can grab Paul. There's no need.
Yeah, they don't have
Paul's
trans.
feeding.
Bubble one.
Wait, we can still fight those. So grab Paul, grab Paul,
Yeah,
grab Paul, dude. Yeah, I fucked that up. Tracer's one, Tracer one, Tracer one.
They're low as fuck. You win this still.
Back in 3 seconds. They're all
Don't let them res. Don't let them res.
I got those in.
Just create purple, create purple, create purple.
I'm fucking them out. I don't have cooldowns right now. Come on, one tap.
They're res.
Yo, run. Fuck.
Ball one, ball's one. Holy shit.
Okay. Nice ability usage there.
Keep going, keep going.
Osaya's not there or what the...
I'm here.
Make sure to reload every time you get the opportunity, right? Just you always want to have as much ammo as you can have.
There's one outside.
Nice.
Mine's half.
Ball's like around.
I don't have bubble.
Okay.
Mercy.
Ball's right side.
Chris half.
Oh,
Chris
come
on
to
me.
the left, come to the left, get close, get close.
She's actually one tap. She's literally one tap.
I hit her.
That's done, Ryan on point.
Big shatter.
They transit. They're not gonna trans next grab. Dead dog.
I didn't have bubble.
Okay.
Alright, make sure that we're not getting so focused up on ball that we forget about our team because their tanks kind of died on point without us paying attention to them.
Yeah.
Alright, so ball's goal is to be a disruptor and a distractor, so if we let him get away with that, then that's kind of what he's trying to do. If we end up missing the sleep or the nade, then pretty much we just want to make sure we're not spending too much time on him because we're not going to be doing too much damage to him. And throughout, like we can shoot at ball, but as long as we're still paying attention to our team as well, right? We don't want to lose awareness of what our team's doing and up to.
I feel like I should just let shield recharge. I feel like shield recharge, I can't crash.
Just recharge shield, recharge your shield. We can engage your rally.
Here we go. I'm rallying through if you want to.
There we go.
Look to stand in the rally so you can just get some armor online.
Ball's up.
I'm taking. Nice block.
I rolled some fire.
We're going shield.
I'm dead,
We'll make
We
we'll
won.
make.
I'm resing.
Massive.
Let him all.
Oh, I tried to get the gun in it. There's a crease still alive, I think. No, you got him. What up top with Mercy?
I can't like kill them at all.
There you go.
Mercy half.
What up? Help me. Yo, can somebody press this Twitter? Okay, I got it.
Mercy that. Mercy can die.
Go and run.
Everyone.
Lit.
Mercy really low. Kill the Mercy. Just half. Cool.
Alright, make sure we're not holding on their ult here. Alright, we're holding on to it for a while. Just keep paying attention to it. That's another awareness thing, is just make sure constantly looking at at your HUD and your when do we have our ult.
This ball is stalling, bro.
They res Ryan, he has shadow.
Dude, we need to kill this Mercy. She's been alive forever.
The ball's not letting us push cars.
Okay, nice.
Zen, literally one.
Alright, so yep, ults just when it comes to awareness, ult awareness, we can be thinking about how we're using our ultimate when we're like 80, 90 to our ult. We don't have to necessarily have it for a full, 30 seconds to be getting it out. We could be thinking about the process before we even have it so that basically as soon as we get it, it's coming out instantaneously. This gets kind of the process going faster. This means we're getting more ults out, which means that we're getting more ults in general, and we're getting them out at the beginning of fights, not in the middle of them, because they're like, we had it for a while and we just kind of like, kept staring at Reinhardt when he's like in the middle of dueling people and fighting people, whereas like, that's probably going to be pretty useful when he's in the middle of doing that. So just want to make sure we're using it a bit earlier in fights, because that's where it's getting the most value. And we talked about that last time, but it's a good quick refresher, right? If they have a nano and they use nano before you, they get picks, they get healing, they get damage reduction. That puts them at an advantage. And if we use nano second, it doesn't do as much because we're already down people. We have less follow up. We have less people to capitalize on it. So we just want to make sure that we're not holding on to it till mid fight, because that's pretty much been how we've used all of our ults. Sleep's looking slightly better near the end of that, but it was looking a little bit inconsistent because we didn't hit his I think I saw our first sleep like halfway through this round, right? So we just want to make sure we're looking to consistently keep that up and make sure it's not just happening half the time, but all the time, or at least most of the time. It's never gonna happen all the time.
Ball, Ryan.
Got player front.
Ball's up.
Ult up left.
Connect. Yeah, that's fine.
Positioning looking very fantastic though.
Ball half. Oh my god.
Here's your mine.
One short.
I won too.
Yeah, purple, I got it. Just wait it out.
I need help.
No sleep, no sleep. Backing up. This is behind us, this is behind us.
Oh, so there we reloaded when we had like a bunch of ammo left, so just make sure you're not reloading when you can actually be shooting at people. All right, reload when we have a lull of timer where there's nothing to do and nobody shoot at, but when we can be healing people, we don't want to just reload and
Drag on me.
waste time that way, right?
Gotcha.
Yo.
Oh, let's go! Balls? You guys see
Dude,
what
look
balls we doing? You see this
Wait on
ball?
top stuff. Ryan, I hold.
What the fuck?
Balls?
I locked an aid.
Very nice.
Dead, nice.
Where's my card?
I hit someone, but I don't think I can switch up.
Okay, very nice. Look to when you are using your ult, you want to use it early in the fight, but you also want to make sure it's not too early. So for example, on the Reinhardt, try to wait until he's like kind of within swinging distance, or at least close enough to get on somebody. There he was just slightly too far, which meant that they just kind of ran away from him and he couldn't catch up. So we want to make sure that he's on top of people while we're nanoing him, not too far away.
Yes, Shadow.
But besides that, that's still definitely better timing than we were working with before.
I bubbled you. I don't know how.
Oh, I actually ran to
I
that.
thought I blocked that.
Fine, that's. You did, but.
Yep, as well as just make sure you request healing. Like as soon as you see like the tracers on you in the back line, that's just a good situation to try to get team support by requesting healing. Make sure the kind of your brig's looking at you and packing you.
Someone's up in the top window, I think.
Yeah, that's
I don't-
right.
She's up. She do be
Yeah, I'm
up there.
trying to drop on a switch out.
Yeah. You guys see the tracer?
Oh, look at me.
Massive.
Ryan.
Dead.
Ball high.
I'm staying cut so we don't get.
Okay.
Tracer.
I can't do rest now. I'm stuck.
Alright, bubble.
All right, so nades are looking pretty good. They're slightly inconsistent, but definitely not as inconsistent as our sleeps are. Just still need to make sure we're putting a lot of effort into them though, as they are really important, and we just want to make sure that we're getting it. I've heard like if we're to put numbers on it, like hitting right now we're hitting like 6 out of 10 nades, and we want to just keep getting that up and up and up to where we're hitting most of our nades like 8 out of 10 to which gets us more consistent, means that we're getting more value, right?
Gotcha.
Sleeps to be more like we're hitting like 3 out of 10 or 4 out of 10 at the moment.
If I'm lucky, yeah.
Yep. Toss a nade in that, right?
Yo, there's 2 doors. I know, what the fuck? Don't let me die, don't let me die.
In that situation, I probably would nano there, just keep her
I
up
tried
and alive.
to.
No, we can touch.
Yo,
Oof.
multiplayer now, what the fuck is this going?
Unfortunate.
Sig grinds are good. I'm gonna play up top so I can deny that from the ball.
Yeah.
Did we go for Zen at all last time, or was it mostly Ana?
Yeah.
Yeah, alright.
Fall Mercy on again. Tracer's on right here. Nice. I ain't playing.
Balls
Ball
up.
one, ball one, ball one.
He's going mega bottom left. Widow's main. That's why it's a true.
If you're reloading again, right, that's just a good habit to get
Widow's
into.
playing exactly main behind side here. He's getting damage in his bucket.
Ball one again.
Mercy went left side to help ball.
Right half.
Run low. Somebody's coming up left stairs to get you.
Tracer.
I don't know if it's Tracer or...
Tracer.
Yep, Sig.
If you have a Ryan shield, don't be afraid to kind of pre-peek it before you're about to fire. That way you can kind of line up and aim where you're trying to hit it.
Alright, well, I'm getting pushed by an Arista. Let's go.
That's weird. Right half.
Anthony gets
Hold the
me.
shell, please. Hold the shell.
Stun down.
Hit it.
Not his half, right?
I just have too much
Alright.
mercy.
Instead of standing in that little arch where where we know that that's where Tracer's been a lot of the time, right? She's continuously going back to that same spot, and we kind of heard her behind us as well. Look to stand kind of more in the corner where your back was at. That way we can kind of have the protection of the corner, and our team can help us. We're not kind of putting ourselves open to the Tracer. So yeah, a lot of the same stuff as last time. For this next one, would you maybe want some kind of assistance and reminders when like in practicing some ult tracking, or what?
Sure.
Sure. All right. Then after some bunch of fights here, I'll just give you a reminder like, hey, ult tracking. You can do that in game, or you can just say it just to me, just to practice at it. Right? It could be either or. And then I will give some tips and advice on it after I hear you go for it.
Okay.
I don't know if you're doing it on purpose or not, or if you if you even care about Hanzo coaching at all, but or just on Hanzo, you a lot of times you're just gonna want to fully charge your shots instead of half charging them. But I would assume that's just kind of you messing around in there.
Yeah, I'm just definitely just messing around.
Yeah.
Also, what am I doing here?
Yeah, high level lobby here. I know it's Insomniac Blast. Some familiar names. All right.
You're right. Best left. Freeze man.
That would have hit, I think.
Yep.
He would have been proud.
I'm with you.
I'm dead. I'm off the back, I'm off the back.
Sorry, one.
Oh, make sure not to scope it in when you're under pressure, right? That's and especially like when we're next to people, right? So that's a situation where we kind of scoped in and made it super easy for us to get sniped and we load our movement speed and whatnot. Where we are close enough to McCree to unscope, or we could even quick scope when we're under pressure, right? We have people on top of us.
Here, just come in. I don't. I'm just gonna die. I don't. We're just not taking Swiss.
Basically, 1-3v4 on the right side for some reason.
All right. Just need to get, how we can look to have an impact here is get an opening sleeper nade, which opens up for kills, and that allows our team to do things. All right. If we're not landing either of our abilities on things, then we're not going to be able to, actually push in and have an impact. So that's how we can have a carrying potential when our team's not doing anything.
Better left.
Also, make sure that if you're like trying to walk back from spawn like that and your team's super far ahead of you, instead of sitting there and scoping, you just want to quick scope. That way you can walk forwards at a fast pace. Huge sleep.
3, 2, okay.
Alright, so we can press tab. Think about ults right now, right? Have they used anything? Did they use anything recently?
Maybe mines?
Yep, they just used mines just last fight there. Right. I don't think that I've heard anything else, right, or seen anything else, so we can assume that they're going to have pretty much everything else, right?
Is that going right side?
Because it's been a couple fights now.
Yeah, I grab. They have no ult. Don't die, anyone.
You can grab. Bob, one.
Freeze 1. They're anti too.
Push up all.
Better behind. Then one. Then dead.
Right, did they use anything in that fight?
I don't think so.
Yep, so that means it's pretty much the exact same as last time, right? Just 5 other ults besides the mines. But we're thinking of that, we're coming up with a plan, right? What do we have to watch out for? What do we have to be careful of?
Play far away from my team. For grab, maybe.
Yep, and even that, on top of that, you can call out to your team like, hey, let's all play split, right? That way we're not all getting caught in a grab. So that's just like the second step to knowing what they have is to communicate, what are we going to do against it? Oh, there we can nano him to keep him alive through the pulse. Right, that's an option there.
It's winnable. Very winnable. Upward dunk. Kills on main. Kills on main. Go present. Go present. Everybody go present.
Alright, so fight's pretty much over, so we're thinking, what did they use last fight, right?
So Grav,
Hey, they have a really scuffed touch. They won't have supports.
What happened to your McCree?
true.
Second.
Oh
Nice.
fuck.
They don't have a McCree. Kill this
He
wall.
got stuck.
Supports get
Yep,
back.
exactly right. So they used both of those, and I haven't heard pretty much anything else, right? So that means that they're gonna have pretty much everything else.
It's unkillable.
Sorry, half, sorry, half.
Yeah, Zarya needs to be dying.
Oh my god.
Yeah, she pushed me. Lucio, my
Two, one.
already. Somebody cap, ball cap. Can't. Oh shit.
Still one of them.
1 HP.
Alright, very nice. Okay, so something that might help you out, because it seems like we're taking a while to remember what they've used, is in the middle of the fight, call out to yourself what they used as they're using them. So when you see they
Okay.
pulse, say they use pulse. When you see that they grab, say they just grabbed, right? That way we can be like it kind of helps us reinforce what they've used and remember what they've used so that we can more quickly kind of go through that process after the fight's done, because we have a whole, like, usually we're gonna have like 10-20 seconds to plan all this stuff out. It's just when it takes us forever to start the process, that's where you get into a lot of trouble, right?
Gotcha.
So we can try that out this time, right? Just call it
Let's
out
try it.
anytime you see an ult. Other than that, good round there.
What up?
Unfortunate.
Should
yeah,
I have gone left there?
yeah. I
Like,
probably say, like, when you don't have a shield to walk main with, you're better off just going left or right. Probably left if your team's not going right side, because that's a little bit closer with them. But yeah, you almost certainly can't make it down that tiny little choke where it's out in the open if you don't have a team to help you. Right, but if you had like a shield to go through with you, then that's fine.
Main.
Alright, so it's been like one fight. What are the kind of fast charging ults on their team?
maybe McCree. I think that might be it.
Nano's also usually decently fast in comparison to other ults, so you know those are gonna be their first ones. They won't necessarily have them immediately here though. Maybe like mid fight.
Touching point.
Ball behind. Kill ball. Ball on snap.
Push it up.
Push. Sunbreak, break one. Break up bubble, never mind.
He's gonna stick me.
Oh, make sure you're sticking with your
should've been
team.
there.
Yeah, stick with your team, right? We kind of ran on a point when we were the only ones there, and then we got pushed hard. Alright, so even while we're dead and spectating, we can be thinking about ults. We saw 2, or actually I think 3 ults there while we were dead that, you know, you can be using in your ult tracking process, right? So just make sure you're paying attention while you're spectating as well. Do you maybe recall any of those?
I heard Briggle, but I think that could have been ours. Unless
Well,
they
you can
both
press
did it.
tab, right, and check. Did we use ours?
I mean, we definitely use ours. I don't know if they use theirs too.
Okay. I'm pretty sure that they nanoed the Brig, as we saw in the kill
Yeah, I
feed
saw
cam,
that.
and then she rallied, and then I'm pretty sure as well that they used mines.
Says grab.
Oh, we live.
When you see that the fight's done like that, and they killed your
die.
entire team, yeah, like healing up your Junkrat and trying to stay alive yourself is just staggering both of you. So, especially when you have your ult already, that's just kind of a waste. Instead, just let yourself die. There they used the
Gotcha.
grav. I don't know. I don't know if I saw the pulse, right? But we know that they use grav at the very least.
Behind.
Just means that that's not one we have to worry about.
Left.
Walk forward. The Zarya's just walking out, man.
Okay, now they use pulse, right? We call that out in our heads. Okay, good timing with a nano. Good target with it as well.
I have 3 on me.
Ball trap.
I'm not dead.
Watch your health bar, right? Request healing when you're low, or throw a nade, but now we're full.
Yeah, we win
We should win this.
Alright, we see a mines, right? So that's another thing to call out to yourself.
Somebody trap
True.
me. Somebody trap me. Need heals, need heals, need heals.
Alright, so fight's done. Even if there's one person alive, this is still where we can be ult tracking, right? They used Pulse last fight, they used Mines last fight. They used Grav like 2 fights ago, right? So they'll be close to Grav, and then we haven't seen any
3 left, 3 left.
High Noon, any Rally, any Nano in a while, so they'll have those 3 definitely, right?
3 on the left side.
Oh.
No.
3 on 1 down.
We're holding like pussies while I have rally. So important.
I know.
Alright, now it's been a little longer, so they'll probably be like have Grab again this fight. So they're coming in with a bunch of ults, so we just have to be prepared for that. Probably have a plan for it.
The flash.
We just saw that they used Rally. And we just heard a Grab. Just all the things we're calling out to ourselves.
Top point.
Just saw a Pulse. Alright, that means that since we're calling out to ourselves, we can immediately remember, okay, they just use Rally Grab Pulse, right? That just makes it a lot simpler for the ult tracking process when you're making those callouts. So that's just to yourself and even to your team. That helps your team out as well. So it's just a good call out to get used to, and trying to it's gonna help a lot, I think, when it comes to just remembering what they've used, which seemed to be a
Right.
big struggle. Also, just look to start doing it as early as possible, right? When you pause and kind of win the fight, and then you wait 10 seconds and then start, then the next fight's going to start before you even have a chance to do anything. Right? You want to be starting the ult tracking process with with time to work with. So do it pretty much immediately as the fight ends, even if they have like a person or 2 alive still, right? Even if you're still healing people up, even if you're still tossing in a nade or sleep, we still want to try to start on the process when the main fight's done.
Okay.
Right. So here we have 17 minutes left, so we might not be able to finish the whole, you know, the whole map. I guess I'm trying to think. Why don't we just, while we're in queue here, go over the kind of main points and whatnot, so that we can, that way we don't end up being stuck at the end of the
Right.
time here with without having done that. So kind of going around in a circle. Um, Ability usage, sleeps especially need a lot of work, but nade is also just super important. So we want to make sure that we're putting a lot of concentration and effort into those. Like I said before, it kind of looks like 6 out of 10 of our nades are hitting. Like 3 or 4 out of 10 of our sleeps are hitting. So we just want to make sure that we're getting our sleeps to be, we're hitting them more often. We're putting a lot of concentration and effort into making sure those are landing. And same thing with our nades. So you just put a concentration effort to make sure they're landing. Other than that, I think we're using them at the right times. There's no issue with how and when we're using them. It's just the process of landing them, I think, is where we're just messing up a lot of the times, and just making sure we're getting those down. Mechanics, no issues there. We hit a lot of good shots, no problems at all. Ultimates, make sure we did a lot better in that last round, but just make sure in general we're using them a lot earlier, and we're not holding on to them for very long, and we're gonna get a lot more value when we're doing that. We're using it early, we're not holding on to it. Then moving on to positioning, honestly pretty great positioning. Just want to make sure that we're rotating to better spots in between fights, and then there's once in a while where we'll kind of have brain farts with our positioning, and we just want to again get it to be consistent, because it's just like same thing as before. Probably say it's like 8 out of 10 times we're in a good spot, and then that 2 out of 10 times we're like in a bad spot. So we just want to get that to be higher and higher and higher, so we're consistent with it. So we want to put effort and concentration into that end. But in general, you kind of understand where is good positioning, so that's a good thing. And that when you understand what makes up good positioning, that allows you to kind of identify those mistakes when you are in bad positioning. Awareness, right? That one I think is a little bit on kind of the medium category to work on. A lot of different types of awareness. First off, starting with HUD, make sure we're paying attention to our ultimate, right? And like when we're 80, 90, we're thinking about how we're using our ult, right? Then on top of that, pay attention to your health bar, because there's sometimes where we're low and we don't really take actions, or I don't know if we notice it or not, but we don't really take actions to combat our health, and we'll end up like tossing a nade when we're low to not on ourselves, or we'll not press I need healing, right? So we just want to make sure that when we're low, we're pressing I need healing or nading ourselves or doing something, grabbing a health pack, right? We're just not ignoring the fact that we're low. On from there, we have, I think we're doing a good job with knowing when we're not winning and losing fights. So it looks like good kill feed awareness. The other part of awareness I think we're struggling a little bit with is paying attention to what is up with the enemies and our team kind of in game. So kind of in-game awareness. So paying attention to where's the enemy team, where's my team. There's a few times where like we've had people walk in front of our nades, so that means you want to pay attention to your teammates. A few times where we've just forgotten where teammates are at and positioned, and that meant that like Reinhardt and Zarya ended up dying while we were focused on ball. So there's just some examples, just making sure we're keeping good awareness so we can make better decisions. On top of that, we kind of have, I don't think we have a problem with health bar awareness or awareness when it comes to audio cues, so no problems there. Though I probably would say that you do want to work on awareness when it comes to kind of the macro ult sense of the game, right? Especially if you're trying to get good at that area, is just make sure you're paying attention. So I'll kind of put that as a separate category here. It's just ult tracking and kind of and planning and whatnot. I guess we'll start with ult tracking here.
Wait, before
Yep.
you continue, do you have any tips for landing nades better besides practice?
Yeah.
Like, is there like a
Yeah. Did we talk about the on a nade tech for landing them at kind of mid to long ranges?
with like zoom?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
Doing
this
that
I
thing.
know.
Yeah, we have that one. Besides that, you just want to get used to the arc, and you have to kind of pay attention because there's three main things that can block nades. You have teammates who can block nades, you have shields that can block nades, and you have kind of the tanks in the front line who can just kind of body block it from hitting more people. So whenever we're trying to get it, we're trying to hit it on as many people as possible. Not just one person, not just two people, right? When we're trying to go for nades, we're trying to go big, and if you're hitting 5, 6 people, that's a lot bigger than hitting on a one tank, right?
Gotcha.
So we want to look for as many people as we can get, and we have to be thinking about what are the things that can block our nades, right? So that comes down to making sure we're avoiding our teammates and paying attention to our teammates, making sure we're intentionally getting it past shields and avoiding shields, making sure we're trying to get it past tanks. Last time we go over like off angling. So far, I think we honestly, I saw us going for off angles, so I think we did pretty good on that end. Once in a while, I saw us taking those, so it seems like we got the concept when it comes to off angling and kind of going on a slight flank to land nades effectively. Make sure you're hitting nades at people's feet, not trying to instead of trying to hit them directly. That's going to be easier, as well as mean that it means that it's hitting multiple people, not getting stuck on one person and not going to the people around it. And then that is pretty much all the kind of nade advice I can give. It's just, besides that, it's practicing the arc, making sure we're concentrating on it and not just kind of tossing it out randomly. You also just want to, put thought and effort into it. You want to be thinking about it for a couple seconds, like before we're throwing it. We're not just going, oh yeah, nade, right, and then just immediately tossing it just randomly. We want to, because sometimes that kind of looked like what we were doing with our sleep too, was we just kind of go, oh yeah, we have sleep, and then we just like instantly sleep without really putting thought and effort into it. So we want to take a couple seconds to think it out. A lot of the times you're just regular primary shooting at people is just going to come out default, but we want to put our thought and effort into the things that need thought and effort, which isn't a lot of times going to be just shooting at people, which can come kind of on autopilot a little bit more.
Okay.
All right. Now kind of getting on to the ult tracking category, right? Think about as ults are happening, call them out to yourself. Say they use this, this, and this in the middle of the fight. That'll help you kind of get better with it, right? Pay attention to, how fast does the ult charge. Pay attention to how much did that person do. When was the last time they used it, right? If they haven't used it in 2 fights, they probably haven't. Right. On top of that, I probably say don't go over. There's 3 parts to kind of the ult tracking thing, and I probably say start on the first one. So you have ult tracking, you have ult countering, and you have ult planning. I probably would, if you're just trying to get into it, start with the first one, which is ult tracking. But a natural secondary kind of the second step to that is ult countering and not just saying, hey, they have grab, but also saying, hey guys, they have grab, let's stay split. Lucio use beat, right? You coming up with the plan, not just saying they have the ult, right? Which a lot of times won't communicate how to actually stop it.
Right.
Okay. But that you can honestly just before you're getting in too much into that, I would practice just flat out ult tracking and then move on to that if you feel like you've gotten it down. Before we get into the game real quick, just go over quick kind of main points of what we're looking at and what you want to look to improve on. I would probably say that let's see, definitely mechanics is coming in at the bottom. Probably say number one thing that needs improvement is going to be ability usage at the moment, as that's just seeming a little bit inconsistent across both of them, and we just want to look to get that up a whole lot. Then number two, I don't know if I guess ult tracking is wherever you want to, because it's not necessarily like a core. It's kind of an add-on, if that makes sense. It's not a core aspect to the game. So if you want, it's wherever you want to put it in priority. If you want to practice at it, then go ahead and practice at it. If you don't, then don't. But in terms of how good you are at it at the moment, I'd probably put that as like the number one thing actually. Like I'd put ult tracking as number one, but it's honestly you can put it wherever you want to put it on in terms of like if you want to practice it or not. So I'm not even gonna put that on the list, but just keep in mind it's a thing. So number one is going to be your ability usage. Number two is going to be your probably I'm gonna combo some stuff here. I'd probably say ult and awareness. Number three is going to be your positioning, and number four is going to be your mechanics.
Gotcha.
I can go in. I'm on the Zen's low. Getting out.
Like when stuff like that happens, like
If they have
I just don't know what to do. Like I don't know if that's my fault or.
Yeah, so in that situation, like if your entire team is going below, you might want to just stay with them for the moment. No, you don't want to isolate yourself from your team because your main kind of big focus of your job is to heal them, right? So we kind of need to keep line of sight on them whenever possible.
Zarya and Zen holding top. Just push under, honestly. Force down positions.
Yeah, because like if your entire team's going under and you try to go out top by yourself, you can't heal them and they can't help you.
Look, Zarya. Zarya's dead. Ball's behind. Hop our Hanzo behind. They're getting out.
I'm with you, Tim.
Never mind.
Keep an eye on me.
Ball's behind.
Is it Ballon or Hanzo?
Yeah. We can't
Can you
point
come here,
your
Hanzo? I can help. I can stun him.
No, he spread out.
That's okay. Cap point here.
He's gonna come on me. Get ready.
Sombra stop right. I can come back for our homes, honestly.
Just
Their
keep an eye on
ball's
me.
actually going.
I don't know where the hell he went.
It's okay. Just come back to the Their ball's gonna come back anyways. We can just focus on them. Ball stop.
Totally accidental.
Nope, totally on purpose, you mean.
Ball, almost. Ball's one. Okay, ball big. Top left Zarya. Their tanks are split from their healers. So walking on Zarya. Lucky. Get the Ash top.
Okay.
Oh, I'm on HP.
I need heals. Unlucky. They had to use EMP and bot there.
Alright, other habit I'd say to get into is making sure pressing tab in between each fight, because we don't seem to be pressing tab very often. This is going to allow us to pair now better if we're paying attention to what we can combo it with. And then on top of that, that's going to allow us to ult track a bit better. Okay, what two ults did they just use a second ago?
EMP bomb.
Yep, so they don't have those. It's been a couple fights. Very massive. It's been a couple fights, so they're pretty much going to have everything else besides EMP pop, right?
I can walk down on point, or at least I can walk on point. You guys hold top still.
So that means we have to pay attention to grab. We can call out to our team, but we also just need to be thinking about it ourselves.
They're holding top. I'm holding point. I'm pushing under bridge. They have Genji now. No more Sombra. Genji's main. Sorry, I dropped. Use grab. Be careful. Where's the Ash? Ash on spaceship. Ash on spaceship. The rest of them dropped.
Genji, hit one half.
They use strength.
And it all got his ult.
Huge pick. Genji can die.
Get the Sigma if we can. Sig's low. Sorry, as low as well. Get by noon.
So now it's only Mercy ult they have.
Sorry, no personal.
Then Zarya.
Which, keep in mind, it has been another fight, so they might be charging up the Bob and... Okay, they just swapped to Genji, right? So that means it's a fresh one. But they I would imagine they Bob again, too, though. So Mercy and Bob. The other thing there is just keep in mind that to before you're using your ult, press tab, because I don't think Hog had his ult when we popped it on him, and
Then
yeah, which meant that we could have just waited a couple extra seconds and then popped it on him, or looked for somebody else to get it on, because solo regular Hog just doesn't do too much with a nano.
Sig has ult. Help our Sig, help our Sig, help our Sig. Don't let him die.
What a hook.
I can push up now. Sig Hog holding right side. Playing left.
Alright, so we know they have a Bob, so we're thinking in our head, okay, we can probably hold on to sleep for a little bit to try to get the Bob.
Hog's dead.
Nice. Wait, where's Bob?
For Bob.
Oh.
They might go in for Blade soon. Fuck.
Oh, I fucked up.
Get the Genji, get Genji.
Massive.
Try to rock Sigma.
We're chilling.
Honestly, we could start to, we could get a Zed maybe. Almost. I hooked Hog. I'm getting on now.
Big NT on their tanks.
That's big, that's big. We're back, we're back. We can definitely push with the rally. Hog's right, Hog's right. He hooks me.
You're thinking about nanos, so we're pressing tab, right, looking at what are we nanoing.
Don't worry about me. You guys win that. Get the Genji, get the Genji.
would I just nano the Sig here?
Yep, did McCree have his ult? I didn't see it.
You right above us.
If McCree has his ult, okay, he doesn't have his ult. So yeah, Sigma would probably just be what you nano. Or you could wait till McCree gets his ult.
There's the blade. Do you get Genji?
Massive.
Watch out for Mercy Res, Mercy Res, Mercy Res. They get the res off, it's fine though. I can try to take hook, but that's about it.
Oh, dude, I was gonna fucking
Alright, so it's been a whole other fight, so we can... Alright, so McCree just uses ult, so he doesn't have that, but we can check now. Does Hog have his ult?
What door are you talking
Right, no, he doesn't. Okay, so we could probably use Nano Sig then.
I'll check these
Ash
guys.
one. Hog no hook.
Yeah, there's Zen's holding top, be careful. No one's top right, to my knowledge. They're all holding
try ult.
Then top left
Okay.
close.
Pushing with the nano sig.
You can also do it when he ults too, that's also an option.
I can't hook Sigma.
You've gotta be joking. I need to kill 100 heal.
3.
I say we get Mercy just for the res. They have a back now, no more Zen.
Yeah, so there with the timing, it was kind of in the pokey phase where you guys were kind of just shooting at each other. It wasn't necessarily the fight hadn't fully blown out yet. You kind of wanted to use it as soon as the fight starts, not just during the poking phase of the fight. So it was just slightly early, not not terrible, but just slightly early.
It's gonna be hard to contest Ash, so we either have to push her or just yeah. She's just gonna spam at our tanks.
I got
Walk up,
Genji.
walk up, walk up.
She's one, she's
Yeah,
one,
Ash
she's
one,
one.
Ash one, Ash one top, Ash one top, Ash one top. No ghost gun.
Oh
Hog's
my
right on payload.
She's bottom, bottom, bottom. That's
Ash
dead.
dead. Heal Hog, heal Hog, heal Hog, heal Hog.
Alright, there we
Not going.
kind of ignored a tank slightly when we kind of went for the Ash, who had an orb on her and was also going to the health pack. Right, we were slightly far behind them, which meant we weren't able to get like a nade on them or a sleep to help them out and assist them. So just make sure we're putting a lot of attention to our tanks, as they're what kind of our job is as Ana, and on top of that, it just is going to nice nano,
On payload. I think Dragon's hitting him.
and then on top of that, that's just who's gonna be taking most of the damage most of the time.
They're all playing back.
Massive.
They have
Oh.
the amp, so be careful. Play passive.
Oh my god, this Ash is cheating. Oh god.
Ooh, they're Ash.
Ash did nothing but headshots from this guy.
Maybe he's just getting lucky, who knows. I highly doubt they're cheating. I can't push payload, but
Can anyone touch?
I don't think I can. Sigma, you might have to.
Unfortunate.
Cheating question?
All right. So what was the last part you said? I didn't really hear it.
What was I was just saying in that last fight that we weren't really with our tanks as much as we should have been. Did you hear that part or no?
Possibly.
Possibly. Yeah, we were just a little bit focused on the Ashe, who is like had an orb and was also on the Mega, and then that
Yeah.
we're also like really far away from our tanks, which just meant that we weren't able to get a nade off, we weren't able to get a sleep off. All right. So I okay, so I'm gonna end the recording